Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Wisconsin.
A ball, 2 strikes, swung on and missed.
That is strike 3 called.
And he chases one, and Chase Anderson has another strikeout. 2-2 to Bruce is right in there. And a swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss. There's the changeup from Chase Anderson.
Big curveball called. Strike 3. Good evening from Miller Park. This Brewers Giants series is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Crowd filing in. The roof is open. It is a beautiful night for baseball on a Tuesday night, and it is game 2. The San Francisco Giants and the Milwaukee Brewers. It is the first annual Bark in the Park night here at the ballpark. There's an Anderson. There's a Schroeder. Good to be represented here tonight. About 900 dogs will join us in the ballpark tonight. A lot of fun. Brian Anderson with our salty old dog, Bill Schroeder. Great to have you with us. Sophia Minard is our reporter. We'll hear from her in just a bit. And I like Bark in the Park night. This is already off to a good start. Our dogs didn't quite make it yet, but we're thinking about them. It's fun.
Yeah, again, I wish I could bring Rupert. He just wasn't in the mood. I asked him. He said, I didn't feel like it. Games last too long. So how about Chestnut?
Yeah, Chestnut didn't make it. She's in comatose nap situation right now. All right, let's get into the real stuff here, Rock. Chase Anderson's on the mound. He has been outstanding. You could call him the alpha dog here lately of this Brewers starting rotation.
Yeah, success breeds confidence. I don't think there's a more confident pitcher right now on the Brewers than Chase Anderson. Last 2 starts, outstanding work, 14 innings, no runs. The strikeout totals have been up there. The walks are down. His repeatable delivery has been outstanding. Fastball on the corners, up and down in the strike zone. You can see these pitches, they're strikes, but they're not getting much of the plate. I mean, curveballs down in the zone. He's throwing them for strikes early in the count and putting them in really good spots late in the count, getting hitters to chase. A lot of his strikeouts have come looking. As you can see, that changeup's been very good down in the strike zone, away, and everything he's throwing right now has been pinpoint. One of the reasons why he's been able to go 2-0 in his last 2 starts.
Starting pitching's been a great story. Now the bullpen trying to lock things down a little bit better. We'll hear from Sophia. She heard from the manager, Craig Counsell. All that is coming up right after this.
on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light beer. By Hupy and Abraham, voted best, rated best. Hupy and Abraham, tell them you mean business. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. It's not quite the dog days of summer, but it is Bark at the Park night here at Miller Park. This was earlier this evening. Before pregame, almost 300 dogs here on the field at Miller Park, all decked out in their Brewers gear. They're ready for first pitch. So are we. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sophia Minert here at Miller Park. And the Brewers starting rotation has been a great story, what they've been able to do over their last 11 games. They've picked up 5 wins. The earned run average just 1.36. But the bullpen is looking for a little bit more consistency as they have faltered here lately. Friday and Saturday night, they took the losses. And then last night, it was a tie game in the 8th. Rob Scahill gave up a 2-run double to former Brewer Aaron Hill. Necroli Feliz gave up 3 more runs. So the Brewers bullpen has suffered 17 losses, the most in the big leagues over their last 15 games, a 5.64 earned run average. Craig Counsell looking for more consistency and production out of his bullpen.
We got to find some guys to get some outs down there. I mean, regardless, tonight was a night we didn't, do a good enough job offensively, but, we certainly got to get some guys getting some outs down there. And, if we're giving guys opportunities for sure. And, Rob did a nice, I thought Rob did a nice job. He's a pitch away from really getting out of the inning. And, but it's a big spot and a spot where, you got to make a pitch.
The Brewers look to even the series against the Giants here tonight, sending Chase Anderson out on the mound. He has 14 consecutive shutout innings, looking to keep his run going here tonight. First pitch coming up next here at Miller Park.
And the Brewers in their home whites hit the field at Miller Park, ready for game 2. The Brewers and the Giants on a beautiful night for baseball. Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is presented tonight by Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Brian Anderson, Bill Schroeder, Sophia Minert. Tonight's game being produced by Dan Keener, directed by Renardo Lowe. 70 degrees outside Miller Park. And the Giants winning yesterday. The Brewers try to even the series with a victory here tonight. It's a 4-gamer. Potawatomi batting order has Denard Span back in the leadoff spot. Eduardo Nunez, Brandon Belt. Then in the middle, it's Posey, Crawford, and Pence. Joe Panik, Austin Slater gets a call in left, with Matt Cain rounding out Bruce Bochy's starting 9. That will match up against Chase Anderson.
Yeah, not a hotter pitcher in baseball right now. Last 2 starts, 2-0. He's not allowed to run in 14 innings. He's only allowed 4 hits, making start number 5 against the Giants. He's 1-2 so far. His numbers on the year overall 4-1 for Chase Anderson.
First pitch of the ball game is in there for strike 1, and away we go on a Tuesday night. Brewers are trying to snap a 4-game losing streak to the Giants going back to last season. And it's been a rough go, even though there are a lot of new pieces to the puzzle here in Milwaukee. The Brewers have gone 2-14 over their last 16 games against the Giants. It's been a nemesis team for the Brewers recently. Now the Brewers have lost their spot atop the Central Division standings in the National League. If you go by winning percentage, they are a point behind the Chicago Cubs. Cubs are 29-27. The Brewers are 30-28. The Brewers have occupied that top spot in the standings for a good long while now, and they're hoping to get back to winning ways tonight. That's what it looks like as we begin play here on June 6th. Percentage points behind Chicago.
And Craig Counsell feels as though there's a lot of room for the Brewers to improve. They've had a lot of good performances. Every aspect of the game, you know, offense, defense, pitching. But he feels like they really haven't put it all together in any real fashion for any extended period of time.
Starting pitching has been excellent for the Brewers. And Chase Anderson has been right at the top of the list. Matter of fact, you can go back to last season for Chase Anderson's success. So if you go back over his last 23 starts, take it back to July of last season, Chase with a 9-2 record and a 2.94 earned run average during that stretch. He had a terrific second half, and he's had an excellent start to this season in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some games lately where he's had good velocity, and already today in the first inning, a couple of pitches at 95 miles an hour. But that's not the story for Anderson. It's been good location with all of his pitches.
Bernard Span will see at least 8 pitches to start this game, and he hits a liner into center field, a base hit. Broxton able to cut it off, and an 8-pitch battle against the Giants leadoff hitter ends in a single.
Yeah, let's check out the Menards Brewers defense for tonight. You got Thames, Broxton, Santana in the outfield. That puts Jesus Aguilar at first base. You got Hernan Perez at third. Still no Travis Shaw. He's on paternity leave. You got Arciette Sogard up the middle, and Jed Bandy gets to start behind home plate tonight.
Give you a lot of credit to those catchers as well for this run through the starting rotation. Chris Conroy calls the balls and strikes. Tim Woodring, Ed Hickox, and Ron Kolpa are the base umpires. Kolpa is the third base umpire and the crew chief. You may hear some random barking going on. It is Bark at the Park night. They have loaded up the beer pen out beyond the right field wall. So Domingo Santana has some company out there, some good looking mutts out there tonight. Great to have him here at the ballpark.
Taking in the game. They had a nice parade around the warning track here before the ball game.
Yeah, they're making friends fast, aren't they? Staring each other down. Nunez gets sawed off, bouncer to third, out at second, and the turn is in time. A double play. Slow developing double play, but Nunez got a late break out of the box, and the Brewers go around the horn to turn 2.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get jammed. It takes you a little while to get out of the box. A good turn by Sogard. Has a very quick release. Able to get him by just an eyelash, but it doesn't matter. And Brewers able to turn a double play.
Perez has turned in his outfielder's glove for the time being now that Brett Phillips is here from the minor leagues and has played third base the last 2 games. He's much more comfortable in the infield, and an excellent infielder he is. 2 gone for Brandon Belt. Belt is the Giants' home run leader right now, a team that is not hitting many homers. Had a couple of hits last night. He's hit 10 homers this season. Giants ranking near the bottom of most of the major offensive categories, second to last in batting average and runs scored. They are dead last in homers.
And the big surprise, the team earned run average, usually near at the top in earned run average.
Belt sends this one in the air. High pop up. Drifting out is Perez, and that'll do it. Chase Anderson is off and running. Giants fail to score. The Brewers are coming up. Boy, looking for some snuggles here early.
Lapping everything else.
Craig Counsell and the Brewers ready to come to bat here against Matt Cain and the Giants. And the Brewers come in with a record of 30-28. He's got Eric Sogard back in the leadoff spot, playing second base today. Santana, then Thames. Middle of the order is Aguilar, Perez, and Bandy, with Keon Broxton, Orlando Arcia, Chase Anderson rounding out the starting nine. Matt Cain, he's a bit of a shell of his former self, but the Giants are hoping for a turnaround soon from what was formerly one of the great pitchers in the game in Matt Cain.
Yeah, he used to be a power pitcher, now more of a command pitcher, and he's still trying to figure that all out. Got off to a decent start in April, but had a dreadful May. 1-4, a 640 earned run average in 6 May starts.
Those are the career numbers for Matt Cain, drafted in 2002. He was a first rounder by the Giants. He's been in the big league since 05. He has been there for all of their great success. Tommy John surgery in 2014. And he really hasn't bounced back, even though at the time he said his elbow feels as good as it did when he was 18 years old. But he hasn't been able to put up the kind of numbers that we saw prior to the elbow surgery. Eric Sogard hitting leadoff once again. Brewers lost for the first time with Sogard as a leadoff hitter yesterday. 7-1 on the year as a leadoff man, and Craig Counsell is finding a way to find Eric Sogard in that batting order. And he rips one up the middle, a base hit. Clean single to center field. Sogard keeps hitting.
Well, that's why he just has a good approach up at the plate, doesn't try and pull it. And Matt Cain not throwing all that hard these days. He used to be, you know, mid to upper 90s with the heater, and you know, now he's in the low 90s. That pit's pretty straight, and he bangs it right back through the middle. Matt Cain has struggled mightily on the road this year. Earned run average on the road over 8, and he has not won a game.
Sogard with his third hit already in the series. This is game 2, and he is on for Domingo Santana. Takes a ball down and in. It's a good lineup here, Rock. You look up and down the Brewers batting order. Bruce Bochy was commenting about that before the game, and there's a lot of balance in the lineup. You've got power. There is some speed in there. And without Ryan Braun, it's one of the better lineups that Counsell can put together. Still trying to figure out, you know, the Brewers had great success the first time Braun was on the disabled list, but you figure that is going to hurt them in a big way while he is out. Such a presence in the batting order.
Yes, short periods of time you can get by without him, but you know, your number 3 hitter, you know, he's been out for a good stretch of time. It was about a month now that he hasn't really been in that starting lineup on a consistent basis. And right now, yesterday and today, your cleanup hitter is not with the team. He's on paternity leave, Travis Shaw. So Counsell is just trying to figure out a way to put some runs on the board right now.
Braun went on the disabled list May 12th. That was his second trip to the DL. As Santana swings and misses, he chases one. And down he goes on strikes. First out for Matt Cain is a K.
Yeah, one of the better defensive teams in the National League, the San Francisco Giants. Let's check out the Menards Giants defense. You know, Giants have only committed 30 errors. That includes one yesterday. You got Slater, Span, and Pence in the outfield. Nunez, Belt on the corners. Brandon Crawford, one of the more underrated shortstops in all of baseball. He's out there at short. You got Panic at second. And Buster Posey behind home plate.
Sogard takes off. Posey's throw is right on the money, and Sogard is caught stealing. Buster Posey with the quick feet and that strong throwing arm, and Sogard is out.
And pretty quick release for Matt Cain, and Posey puts it right on the bag, and an easy out call at second base.
Two outs in the inning. 2-6 on the putout on the caught stealing, and Thames takes ball 2. So Eric hitting third once again. This is his second consecutive game batting third, and the first 2 games that he has hit third all season. That's hit hard, and Crawford lays out from his knees, unable to be scooped by Belt. A base hit for Eric Thames. That was a heck of a play by Crawford, but a low throw, and Belt couldn't come up with it.
That'd be a base hit. A good play by Crawford to get to it, and just not able to get off a good throw. Belt pretty good over at first base, not able to handle it. So 2 base hits for the Brewers here in the first. Pretty good effort by Crawford.
Giants aren't a team that shifts much, but they did shift against Eric Thames, and that put Crawford on that side of the field. Keeps the inning alive for the big man, Jesus Aguilar. Getting the start at first base while Thames is in left field tonight. And you can see, we were talking about Ryan Braun, you just see how his absence resonates through the rest of the lineup. Braun went on the DL May 12th. He came back on May 21st, and maybe, in his words, came back too soon. He wanted to get back with the ball club, and the ball club was playing well in first place, and he felt like he needed to be on the field, and he ended up tweaking that calf again and went back on the disabled list 5 days later. So it's been essentially 3 weeks plus now without Ryan Braun in the lineup for any significant stretch, minus those 4 games that he played when he returned. But Ryan has been taking batting practice in the cage. He's done it for 3 days now. He's done everything but really push it with the sprints and the left turns around the bases. That'll be the last step.
Yeah, those quick bursts to get going are the thing you have to really be careful of with the calf injuries. Starting, stopping, turning, those types of baseball activities.
We'll hear more from Sophia on Braun, and Matt Garza, who by all accounts will be making his next start. Garza had a collision with Aguilar, and you can see why Garza lost that collision. The big first baseman, and a cut and a miss, and a 3-1 pitch.
A fastball, 87 miles an hour for Cain. It looks like he's all right. I mean, the big collision at first base, deciding which one was going to take the play at first.
3-2, runner goes. Aguilar pulls one foul. Look out in the seats. And this is the collision that put Matt Garza, and a little bit of question for his next start. This was Saturday against the Dodgers, and indecision between Garza and Aguilar, and Garza stood right there, and Aguilar, that's not a man who can slow down quickly, and he plowed right through Garza, who finished the inning but ended up coming out of the game after 4.
You can't lay that one on Jesus Aguilar. Garza, once he realizes he's not going to be able to get there, he's got to peel out of the way.
In the air, center field, almost in his track span, and he'll cruise over to make the catch to end the inning. We are underway at Miller Park, Bark in the Park night. No score, Giants Brewers.
We head to the second. Scoops from the clubhouse brought to you by Car Soup. Matt Garza will not make his scheduled start on Thursday. Threw a bullpen today. Told me he was not able to get through that pen. Threw just 25 pitches. Felt it was just tight. It was uncomfortable after that collision on Saturday. So we'll learn more about the Brewers starter likely tomorrow for Thursday. And you guys were talking about Ryan Braun. He continues to make progress. He has been hitting. He's been doing his running on the treadmill, not quite up to 100%. So the next step for him will be to get the agility and running work done on the field, but that is still likely a ways away.
All right, good reporting there, Sophia. So Matt Garza, who is still listed on the Brewers probables as the starter, will have to miss that start, and we'll see what the Brewers are going to do now. The Brewers are carrying 8 relievers. You could make it a bullpen day, and you could also backtrack Garza's. If you had to put him on the disabled list, you backtrack it to the day after his last start, so you could buy a few days there, and it would be essentially a week, which would probably be one more start. So some decisions for the Brewers after the game, and that's why Sophia will be right there in the clubhouse for Brewers Live postgame. Buster Posey starts it for the Giants, and that one's into center field, hit well. Back on it is Broxton, and he's got it for out number 1.
I think that 10-day disabled list has been a good adjustment by baseball. I mean, you see a lot of guys going on there for a starting pitcher. I mean, you're really only talking 1, maybe 2 starts, right? 2 starts, that's it. 15-day disabled list, it's a little bit different situation.
Well, Garza's already been on the DL. He's made 8 starts. I think there's a lot more freedom, right, for a player knowing you're not going to be out 2 weeks as opposed to, say, 10 days. There's also the 7-day concussion disabled list. Managers are the ones that are probably the most relieved, especially National League managers. There's Brandon Crawford with a swing and a miss. Primarily because a 15-day DL, 2 weeks plus a day, oftentimes you'd have a player who wouldn't need that much time, but you couldn't use him either. So that would leave you a man short.
Right, and it really does apply. It's a good deal if you're a position player. I mean, with pitchers, You know, starting pitchers in particular, it's once a week basically. But it's a good move by baseball to keep your stars as healthy as you can keep them throughout the year.
There's a ground ball to the shortstop, Arcia. One shortstop retires the other.
Hey,
Crawford is out.
Yeah, the Brewers need your help to make it to Miami this July. Go to brewers.com/vote and cast your ballot up to 5 times per day and 35 times total to make sure your hometown 9 are well represented in the 88th annual Major League Baseball All-Star Game.
In Miami.
Sorry I jumped the gun. I'm so excited.
Pretty fired up about the All-Star promo. Nice going. Brewers fans gotta get going with All-Star voting. Eric Thames, maybe the most likely candidate to be an All-Star, has slipped a little bit. His struggles in the month of May probably dropped him a little bit in the standings, but it's going to be hard for a Brewer to be voted in, but you shouldn't be discouraged by that. Let's see if you can make your voice and your vote heard and count around Major League Baseball. Players get to choose, All-Star players as well, and then managers get a selection in that. So it's a 3-prong process, and right now got time before the All-Star game, but it figures that Eric Thames, with his numbers across the board, would be the most likely candidate. Maybe Travis Shaw, who's among league leaders in RBIs.
And then you have the vote for the final roster spot on both All-Star teams.
Now, if Eric Thames ends up in that,
should win.
He's going to win. He's going to have the Korean contingency coming out strong. Still a massive following in Korea every night watching Eric Thames, and still headline news over there. 3 balls and a strike on Pence. Is that a foul ball or did it hit him? That's a foul ball.
But you know, Brewer fans have voted in a couple of Brewers in that final vote. Corey Hart, Jim Jenkins.
I remember the one year Brewer fans voted in Corey Hart. They outvoted New York.
Right.
David Wright was on that list that year, and the Mets third baseman didn't make it. A swing and a miss. Anderson strikes out Hunter Pence, his first strikeout, and a 3-up 3-down second inning. That fastball has been fantastic this year for Chase. The world's greatest players battle to be crowned America's champion in golf's can't miss major of the year. The 117th playing of the U.S. Open begins June 15th on Fox, FS1, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Aaron Hills is shaping up beautifully. Just about a 45 minute drive here from Miller Park. By the way, Rock, the U.S. Open trophy will be here tomorrow in the booth. Michael Trostel of the USGA, he is their historian, is going to bring the trophy by, and we'll have a visit with him. So get all your U.S. Open history questions ready. He can answer them.
Maybe I should talk to him before he comes on.
Maybe a briefing would help you out a little bit.
Don't know much.
Hernan Perez sends one deep to left. That is way back and gone. A home run for Perez. A no-doubter into left field. Number 7 on the year for Perez, and it's 1-0 Brewers. Well, Craig Counsell felt Hernan Perez, when he settles in, could be a 20 to 25 home run per year type player. And that was number 7 here on June 6th.
I'll tell you, that Matt Cain fastball, nothing like it used to be. That was 89 miles an hour in on Perez. And now, back in the old days, you're not going to turn on a Matt Cain fastball like that. And now that he's lost a good 5-6 miles an hour on that fastball, it's much more hittable.
Jed Bandy at the plate.
Matt Cain's only allowed now 7 homers. That's not too bad. Of course, pitching in San Francisco doesn't hurt him.
Well, everything you're saying about Matt Cain sounds a lot like what you say about Matt Garza.
Right.
The evolution of a pitcher trying to figure out how to remain in the league without his A+ stuff. Happens to them all. Aren't many Nolan Ryans in the world that keep projecting as a power pitcher into their 40s, right?
Right.
An anomaly he was.
No, it's the ones that are able to evolve and figure it out and be productive as they're going through that process are the ones that are going to stick around. The others just kind of throw in the towel, or it's thrown in for them.
2 balls, 2 strikes on the Brewer catcher, Jed Bandy. Sounded like a broken bat. That is foul, just foul. And it needs a new piece of lumber. Did you notice they're not sending off the home run fireworks? You know how the Brewers would hit a home run, there'd be a couple of fireworks go up. Not happening tonight.
Yeah, they want to spook the dogs. They didn't shoot off the fireworks when they first went out on the field either.
Yeah, they hit the field. That's a good call.
Yeah.
Makes me a little uneasy anyway.
How's Chestnut in a thunderstorm?
Good, solid.
Yeah.
She's a good sleeper, like maybe 12, 16 hours a day. Bandy hits one sharply back up the middle, a base hit.
12, 16 hours?
Yeah, she's like a
that's actually an active dog.
She sleeps. We got dogs around. We got hey, there's Chestnut. I didn't know we had a picture. That's awesome. Yeah, there's Rock and his giant dog Rupert.
See, now I did not actually send that one in. Look at Davy's dog.
Yeah, that's a dog. That's a man-sized dog. Craig Kashan's got a couple of pooches. Very nice.
There's Reggie.
Oh, Reggie Menard. I see. Sophia's dog.
Where's Sophia?
Not pictured. Bouncer to third. Nunez, nice pickup. Throw to second for the first out. Cannot get the turn. As Broxton beats it down the line. He'll reach on a fielder's choice. That was a heck of a play by Nunez.
He's made a couple of nice plays in this series. I mean, good hands, able to get that one over to second base. Not a double play ball with the way it had to be fielded with Broxton going down the line, but a nice play to get the lead out. And I was asked to send in some pictures of Rupert today, and I did. I didn't send that one.
Oh, there may be a back channel going, because I don't think I got asked to send in a picture, and I certainly didn't send that one.
I would have preferred some other pictures that I sent in.
I mean, who could? I thought Rupert looked great in that picture.
No, Rupert did.
I mean, is it really about you, or is it about the dog today? I thought you looked handsome there, Rock.
So that's the point.
Was there something you weren't happy with your presence in that picture? I mean, look at you.
I'm just wondering how and who took that picture. I don't remember that.
mean, you've got a lot of paparazzi around.
Rupert likes to see me off on the road trips.
You're a famous guy.
Yeah.
A Rupert.
He's got a spiked collar.
Orlando Arcia back in the starting lineup tonight. Sogard started at short yesterday, and Arcia is back in there. He's done a nice job. He's played great defense. You knew you'd get that. Had a 19-game errorless streak to start the year. And as a matter of fact, he had a much longer streak going back to last season defensively. And he's starting to get more and more comfortable at the plate. He's getting his hits. Had an 11-game hit streak. Ooh, close play over there. Broxton's got about as much lead as he can get right now.
Yeah, Kane's always had a quick move over to first base. Watch the quick feet. And then you better get back. It's a good throw too. Very close. That'll keep a guy from stealing a base. Shorten that lead a little bit.
Broxton has 10 steals. Arcia to the right side. Base hit. Broxton turns. He's on his way. Here's the throw from Pence. And it is late. Broxton goes first to third, and Arcia delivers with a single.
Yeah, Pence with a pretty good accurate arm out and right. That's just a good piece of hitting by Orlando Arcia. Taking that pitch down and away and just shooting it into right field out of the reach of Joe Panic. And look at the speed of Keon Broxton cutting the bag. Another nice play by Nunez to keep that one in the glove. That was a tough hop.
Well, the Brewers have something cooking here. A run is in on a homer. Hernan Perez went deep. Now first and third with one out. The pitcher Anderson at the plate, who has 3 hits this year, and a pitcher who handles the bat pretty well.
Yeah, something Ed Cedar didn't like. Either he's supposed to bunt, didn't get the sign, or just a decoy.
This can be a prime bunting opportunity. A good bunt could produce a run. You could produce a run and advance a runner all at the same time. And he does square and he pops it up. Worst case scenario right there for Anderson. And it's out number 2.
I mean, that's almost a kind of a bunt for a base hit type effort by Chase. He popped it up, barrel of the bat dropped, and easy play from Posey.
2 gone, top of the order now. Eric Sogard had a single in the first inning. Sogard's been good in a small sample size with runners in scoring position this year. He's 5 for 13. He'll try to deliver with 2 outs. By the way, that single by Sogard in the first, he is now 4 for 6 as a leadoff hitter with 3 walks. And he scored 4 runs as a leadoff hitter. Been quite a run.
Yeah. And he hits lefties pretty well.
Feels like Craig Counsell's on a little bit of a volleyball rotation with Eric Sogard. Shortstop yesterday, second base today. Might see him at third tomorrow. Could see him in left field at some point. Whatever it takes to keep him in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's a guy that has a knack for getting on base with that .538 on base percentage.
Little jam shot, long run, falling fast. This is going to be down. And now making the turn, headed home is Arcia, and he will score. 2 runs are in. Ends up as a double for Sogard. He hit it into no man's land.
Yeah, put it in a perfect spot. And how about the hustle for Orlando Arcia all the way from first base? Couldn't put it in a better spot. And by the time it stops rolling, it's over by the tarp. And Nunez picks it up, but really no chance to get Arcia at home plate. Boy, just out of the reach of Crawford, who covered an awful lot of ground to get there. And Brewers with 3 runs in here in the second.
Arcia never slowed down. He was booking it from first base, and he's able to score. 3-0 Crew. 2 outs. Here is Santana. Sometimes you need a little bit of good fortune, and the Brewers finding some there with Sogard and a little flare that falls. Sogard's 2 for 2. Santana can add to the lead. And a liner that's down, base hit. Rounding third, headed home, Sogard. Another run is in. 4-0 Brewers. Santana with a 2-out RBI.
Well, got a slow curveball that ended up in the strike zone, and Santana able to stay back long enough to get it off the end. Watch where it ends up. I mean, upstairs, down the middle, and Santana with a soft liner into left. Sogard scores. And so the beat goes on. Good job by the bottom of the order in this inning. Setting the table.
Santana has now reached base safely in 11 consecutive games. 4-0 Brewers here in the second inning.
7 hits already from Milwaukee.
Matt Cain has had his troubles here at Miller Park. This has not been a good place for him to pitch. As a matter of fact, against the Brewers overall in his career, he has an ERA over 5. This is his 14th career start, over 100 innings. A strike to Eric Thames. Check this out, Rock. At Miller Park, Cain's ERA 6.30 and rising. It's the 4th highest ERA at this venue by an opposing pitcher.
And that includes the years when he was dominating National League hitters. This year on the road, he's winless with an earned run average over 8. There it is, 828 this year. Look at how good he's been at home.
1 ball, 1 strike. Santana's at first, and Thames takes a ball down and in. Thames had an infield hit his first time up. The Brewers already with 7 hits. 5 of them in this inning. Outside, ball 3. Thames still has an OPS over 1,000 coming into play. He's maintained that lofty number. 15 home runs on the year for Thames. Slugging percentage just shy of 600. And a swing and a miss. He let it loose that time. 3-2 the count. Thames trying to join a group of 3 leading the National League with 16 homers, and he draws the walk. Santana to second. Thames with the walk, and the Brewers have batted around here in the second inning.
Every great beer deserves a great T-shirt, and on Monday, June 19th, all fans at Miller Park for the Brewers game against the Padres will get an Eric Thames Revere the Beer T-shirt courtesy of BP Come On Back Club. Tickets start at just $6 at Brewers.com.
All right, it'll be Aguilar now. First and second, 2 gone. Brewers have 2 hits and a walk with 2 outs in this inning. Aguilar hit a long fly ball out in the first inning. That was the final out for Cain in the first. And the Brewers have come back and scored 4 here in the second. Strike. Jesus making his 20th start as a first baseman for the Brewers this season. Glad to be in the big leagues. Couldn't fight his way to the major leagues with the Indians again. Just a few cups of coffee over a 3-year span with the Tribe. That one's hit like a bullet past Nunez. Everybody will advance. And a rocket off the bat of Aguilar. The beat goes on here for the Brewers offense.
Yeah, not even the sure-handed Nunez could keep that one in the glove. That was a bullet. Boy, Matt Cain getting a lot of the plate, and the Brewers taking advantage of it. Watch where this one ends up. And a fastball middle in, and boy, Aguilar just barrels it up and almost undresses Nunez. Ball gets by him. Nobody able to score, but still, that was a hard hit baseball.
Now the 10th batter of the inning, the man who started this inning with a home run, Hernan Perez. Bullpen is quiet for now with Cain on the mound, struggling in the second. And a strike called. Bases loaded, 2 outs in the inning.
It's got to be so frustrating for a guy like Cain, right? I mean, not that long ago, he was throwing mid-90s. Same location, but it makes a big difference when you're not even touching 90 miles an hour anymore.
Perez out in front, pop up into shallow center. Span is under it, and that'll do it for the Brewers, who bring 10 to the plate. They score 4 in the inning. Hernan Perez got it all started with a home run, number 7 for him. And another trip down Bernie Slide, brought to you by Quick Trip.
Team in baseball right now, the Houston Astros extended their winning streak to 11 straight games in Kansas City last night. It was Brian McCann with the 2-run home run off of Ian Kennedy to give them a 4-0 lead. It was one of 2 home runs for the Astros in that game. They would go on to win 7-3, and their franchise record is 12 straight wins. They did that both in 1999 and 2004, so they're going for 12 tonight. They're pitching for first pitch, coming up in just a few minutes in Kansas City.
What a story the Astros have been. They have become the Cubs of 2017, the last year's version of the Cubs. And I mean, they have a 14-game lead in their division already on June 6th. You got to start thinking about possibly the Seattle Mariners and maybe the most wins. I mean, who knows if they can keep this pace, but what a ball club.
So you're saying they should start setting up their rotation for the playoffs?
Start selling playoff tickets down at Minute Maid Park, ladies and gentlemen.
A lot can happen. We're sitting here in the first week of June.
Oh, you're right. That's what you're here for, though. You're here to put us fans in the proper perspective and state of mind. Rock is our official brake pumper on just about every topic.
I'll tell you why. I mean, I was on a team that started 13-0.
That's right. You know all about it, that 87 team streak.
Things can switch on you in a hurry.
Well, Chase Anderson returns to the mound with a 4-0 lead now. 3-2 the count on Joe Panik. Anderson a 3 up 3 down second with a strikeout. He's faced the minimum. And he misses to Panik, and a leadoff walk here in the third. Haven't seen many of those from Chase Anderson recently. He's had great command. Chase now has 16 consecutive scoreless innings going. Shut out the Diamondbacks across 7 innings, only 1 hit. That's the game he took a no-hitter into the 8th. He struck out 11, which was a career high. That was back on May 27th. And then his last start against the Mets, he went 7 shutout, only 3 hits. And he was in complete control.
Yeah.
It never felt like Anderson was in any trouble, even though there were base runners here or there with the Mets. He was just in complete command of everything he was throwing, and that's really been the story for Chase.
Yeah, it is the story. I mean, he's throwing all 4 of his pitches anytime, good locations, and that was a rare walk to Joe Panik, and he started that count at 0-2. It just couldn't put him away.
Austin Slater getting the start in left field, that revolving door of left fielders the Giants have had this season. That one misses. 2 balls and a strike. Slater got his first major league hit last Friday against the Phillies on the road. Stanford product.
He had called up, played right away, got a hit. A good way to start.
Well, that is a position that is open, and Bochy is hoping for somebody that can lock down the left field position. Somebody asked Bruce Bochy, one of the reporters, about could he imagine all these different lineups and the multiple lineup changes that he's had this early in the season through the first 2 months. That's got a chance to be 2 here. Arcia to Sogard, nicely turned, double play, routine, and it goes 6-4-3. Second double play turn by the Brewers tonight.
And he was 1 pitch away from having first and second, nobody out. That was a 3-1 count. Threw him the fastball and got his double play. Brewers have turned a lot of double plays this year. They are inning savers. Brewers have now turned 67 double plays. That leads the National League.
By far and away, that's kind of a good news, bad news situation. By the way, the 62 number is actual ground out double plays. So
right.
Your number is correct too. Line drive double plays and whatnot. But the ground ball double plays, you feel good that they're turning double plays, but I'm sure it's a situation where Craig Counsell is wishing there were much fewer base runners. But you like those ground ball double plays after a leadoff walk. That can clean up an inning quickly, especially with a pitcher coming up.
Man, leadoff walk and a 3-1 count to the hitter that grounds into the double play. I mean, you go from big trouble to 1 out away from having a quick inning.
1-2 to Matt Cain. Giants pitchers always handled the bat pretty well. And he's gone. Anderson punches him out. Got him with a bender. Leadoff walk, a double play, and a strikeout. And it's a clean inning for Chase Anderson. second inning, and there is Maverick Phillips, also known as Brett Phillips, and he made his major league debut last night. And this is our cricket, something to smile about. Got into a game and an outfield assist. He gunned down Denard Span at second base.
Yeah, he's got good, covers a lot of ground out there in the outfield, and a terrific throwing arm, right on the money. Got himself a base hit. Kind of ran the gamut last night for Brett Phillips, and unfortunately for him, he got his hit, but did not result in a win for Milwaukee.
Having a chat with Nick Franklin there. Day 2 in the big leagues for Brett Phillips. His family is at Miller Park as well. It'll be a day he'll never forget, but he said he's glad all the debuting is over, and now he can get on with the business of baseball for as long as he's here. Jet Bandy leads off for the Brewers, takes a strike from Kane.
Yeah, it's good that Craig Counsell got him in right away to, you know, the last thing you want to do is bring a guy up just in case, and, you know, has never been in the big leagues before. I got into my second game in the big leagues when I got called up in Texas. Matter of fact, my plane didn't get to Arlington. It was about an hour before the game. By the time I got to the ballpark, a little bit too late for Bambi to put me in the lineup. Played the next day. Got that all out of the way.
What was it like sitting through the first game? I'm assuming you ended up getting into uniform and watching the game from the dugout, right?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time talking to Ted Simmons on the dugout, talking about, you know, the pitchers, and I was going to be catching Bob McClure that day. And he told me, don't worry, you're going to think you're the dumbest guy that's ever lived, because this guy pitches a lot differently than most.
That's great. So I'm imagining a moment that when you got to the park, everybody's on the field already. Did you get to put on your major league uniform kind of by yourself, basically?
No, everybody. I got there so late because I had to wait for my luggage.
Right.
Right. So waiting for the luggage and get to the ballpark at Arlington, and they were already done with infield and batting practice. I mean, literally 20 minutes before the start of the game. So I walked in there. I knew everybody. You know, I knew everybody because of spring training. Still a little intimidating when you think about the guys that were in that clubhouse.
Oh, I bet. There's Bandy. Oh my goodness, another great play by Nunez from the seat of his pants. Throws out Bandy. Wow. I mean, he's already put on a clinic at third base tonight. Takes a hit away from Jet Bandy here in the third.
Oh, this guy's got some good skills, good reactions over at third base. Check this out. Wow, big hop right from the seat of his pants, and one hop over the belt. Nice play. He had time to get up, but you have some style points right here.
You're going to see that one all over the highlight shows tonight. That was something. Excellent play by Eduardo Nunez, who homered yesterday. Broxton takes a strike from Kane. I feel like things are so much different now on a lot of levels, but the arrival to the big leagues and, you know, the unwritten ceremony that it is inside that clubhouse is drastically different from when you came up.
No kidding.
Thinking about all those players that you came up who were already on that team.
And in that locker room that day when I got into Texas, Don Sutton, Raleigh Fingers, Molitor, yeah, there's 4 Hall of Famers right there.
Right.
Pete Vukovich. I mean, these guys, they made you earn your stripes, and what you want to do, you want to find a corner, sit in it, and hope nobody notices you.
Which is just the opposite now.
Yeah.
Brett Phillips shows up. He's got news conferences going on. He's got press around him. He's out here with fans and his family, and it's just a different vibe and a different scene. It's probably more productive for the player to come into a situation where he, even though it's awkward to be in the big leagues, it's still pretty comfortable for him because he had been around all these players in spring training. He'd been to Milwaukee for the on deck events. There's a lot more hype and video and discussion. Brett Phillips shows up to Miller Park yesterday. Most people know who he is.
Right.
(3-2) to Broxton, and it's outside, ball 4. Keon draws a walk. Well, this game is trending younger and younger, and one of the main reasons is players who are coming up to the big leagues are not afraid of the moment. They are excelling quickly, sometimes too quickly.
Yeah.
Players are having success. I think about a guy like Kyle Schwarber in Chicago, you know, who burst onto the scene. He becomes a household name, and he really hasn't played that much.
Well, there's no doubt that, you know, back in those days, guys spent a lot longer time in, you know, the minor leagues, learned how to play. And, you know, now, I mean, you get guys like Orlando Arcia, you know, Brett Phillips, although they do know how to play the game, they haven't had a lot of at-bats and really don't understand themselves as hitters quite yet like you did back in the old days. You kind of knew who you were in the minor leagues, and that kind of was the way you were in the big leagues. I mean, I had 4.5 years in the minor leagues.
And that was actually a pretty quick run for a catcher. As far as position players, catching is the fastest way to the big leagues. And
catching and left-handed pitching.
Orlando Arcia with Broxton at first. Arcia is a great example of a player who's come up and had an impact right away. And he's starting to feel like a very familiar name that's been around. You realize this is his 5th month in the majors. That's it. Called up late last year as a 21-year-old, and here he is at 22, an everyday shortstop for a contending team. Broxton goes. Little jam shot out to second base. And Arcia is out. He tried to hit one to right field. Broxton ends up at second with 2 outs, and Chase Anderson coming up.
He was thinking about trying to go to right field with this one, but look how far inside that pitch is. And when he saw Broxton running, he's thinking the panic's going to cover. He didn't. Always thinking that inside-out stroke, but that one a little bit too far inside to do it.
2 outs. The pitcher at the plate, Chase Anderson. By the way, Rock, some news on the Giants. They have just issued a release that they have acquired Sam Dyson, who was the closer for the Texas Rangers that had such a rough start to the season. Down the right field line, Anderson sending Pence to the line, and it's foul. So Dyson, who's 29 years of age, allowed 20 earned runs in 16+ innings for Texas. They had to make a decision on Dyson, and the deal is going to be for cash considerations and a player to be named later, or a player to be named later. So that's a deal that's coming down. I'm sure if you're a Giants fan, you already know that. Hey, why not? If you're the Giants, you need some help in your bullpen. Take a chance that a guy is going to be able to stop down and get some things figured out.
Yeah.
It happens all the time with relievers. Sometimes year to year. One and two to Anderson. In the air to left field, hit well. Back is Slater, looks up and is off the wall. A run will score Broxton, and into second base is the Brewer pitcher. Chase Anderson with an RBI double.
Well, that ball was smoked. Well, Slater was playing shallow, as he probably should, with a pitcher up, and got a curveball in, and well, he hit it a ton off the wall, and another run in for the Brewers. So he got this curveball right into the wheelhouse of Chase Anderson, off speed, up and in, and nice easy swing off the wall, and another run in. Boy, bottom of the order money tonight.
It's impressive. Anderson's first career double. And now Sogard into right center. Hunter Pence on the run. He's got it. And that will retire the side. Everybody's hitting tonight. The Brewers have 9 of them, including one from their pitcher that drives in a run. It's 5-0 Crew. Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Lottery, reminding you to please play responsibly. And by Toyota. Let's go places. Bark at the Park Day here at Miller Park. Great to see all the dogs here and their humans. 5-0 Brewers. Brewers have a little bark in them tonight. By the way, these are the dogs of Chase Anderson right there. Cammy, Toby, and Jack in that order. Keon Broxton's dogs, look at me. Keon just named his dog G. That keeps things simple. Zoe and Penelope, the dogs of Zach Davies, Brewers starting pitcher. Okay. Tilly Hughes.
Not Telly.
Not Tilly Hughes. I had to think about that one for a minute. Jared Hughes' dog. Gizmo, Derek Johnson's dog. Okay. Okay, he's got Roxy too. All right. Well, by far, Tilly Hughes is my favorite. Somebody's got to get Tilly Hughes on the phone now. I'm sure Jared Hughes doesn't even know Tilly Hughes, but
no.
Who would have thunk it? There's a dog named Tilly Hughes.
Tilly.
Denard Span starts it for the Giants, and a fly ball into right, shallow right. RC is calling everybody off. He's got it for out number one. One pitch and one out. For a dog owner of 3, Chase Anderson.
But aren't you glad you didn't bring your dog in today?
Yes.
Can you imagine the mayhem there would be in this booth right now?
I don't feel like I'd really be responsible for my dog at this point. So I think Renee, our world-class stage manager, is glad we didn't bring our dogs
well,
here.
she offered to watch him, but I think that task a little bit too heavy.
By the way, was that Adam McCalvey we just saw? Was the Brewers beat writer? Or was it a doppelganger of Adam McCalvey? Because it did look like him, didn't it? It looked just like him. Hard at work. I guess that's what beat reporters do when they bring their dogs to the ballpark. There he is. That is him. Just soaking it up.
I guess nothing to write about tonight.
He's already written the story. It's ready to go send. That's good fun. Good fun at the old ballpark. Something that goes together very well, dogs and baseball. Two and two the count on Eduardo Nunez. Anderson just collected his first career extra base hit as a hitter in the big leagues. Drove in a run.
Change up right there, had him out in front.
Nunez bounced into a double play in the first inning. Broken bat, ranging over is Aguilar. He's way over there, and he throws one off the dugout. Now, that's not the spot for Aguilar, but the shift put the Brewers in an awkward position, and that'll have to go as an infield hit, and that'll mean Nunez has hit in 8 straight for the Giants.
I don't believe I've ever seen a first baseman that far off the bag.
There was no slowing down once he started.
Right. I mean, once you take a couple of steps, you might as well just keep going. You can't get back. The only chance right there, Sogard would have had a play, might have been able to throw him out had Aguilar been there.
Aguilar telling Nunez, you see that range right there? I'm covering all this ground over here, partner.
We don't need a second baseman.
I got this handled.
I mean, that's a split-second decision that you have to make, right? I mean, you either, when you're that far off the bag at first, I mean, you have to either right away go to first or go after the baseball. He decided to go after it, and there's no turning back after that.
Well, and after Eric Sogard, he doesn't just look smart, he is smart. After he saw what Aguilar did to Matt Garza, there was no way Sogard was going to get involved in that.
Right.
He knocked Sogard into the outfield. Swing and a miss by Belt. Big hack. No balls and a strike on the Giants 3-hole hitter. Belt with a pop-up over to third base that ended the first inning. "5-0 Brewers." And scoring 3 of those runs with 2 outs in innings here today against Matt Cain. Another one in on the hands.
Yeah, good location. That's what we were talking about when he came on the air tonight. The fact that 94, 95 in on the hands, not leaking it out over the plate. That's kind of the way it's been about 3 starts now for Chase. And then you go down and away with a changeup, and that's kind of been the combination.
I always thought it might be a little unnerving for a hitter to see a pitcher out there squinting like Chase Anderson does to pick up his sign.
That change up
makes you feel like you really can't see what's going on. And
yeah, not good to have a pitcher that can't see.
I mean, you borrow Sogard's glasses. Brewers have turned 2 double plays already. Anderson would love another here in the 4th. Belt able to take the pitch to push it to 3-2. Shift is on with 3 infielders on the right. Runner goes, swing and a miss, throw to second, and he's out. A strike him out, throw him out, double play. Jet Bandy on the other end. And the inning does end. Chase Anderson continues to deal. The shutout streak is alive. What a perfect throw by Bandy. We go to the bottom of the 4th. It's 5-0 Brewers, having a good night so far at Miller Park.
Of the 4th inning. Get live broadcast, scoring updates, breaking news, and more right at your fingertips with MLB.com At Bat, the official app of the Brewers. Download At Bat today, free for your smartphone or tablet.
Domingo Santana will lead off for the Brewers. 5-0 Crew here in the bottom of the fourth. By the way, speaking of the at-bat app, just checking in on the Cardinals and the Reds. Cincinnati, as Santana smokes one back up the middle in a base hit. Domingo is 2 for 3 tonight. Hits keep coming for the Brewers. Cincinnati has a 10-0 lead over the Cardinals as they go to the bottom of the fifth.
Adam Wainwright, right?
For the Cardinals, right. Wainwright gave up 9 earned runs in 3 2/3 innings.
Wow.
But Scooter Gennett, the former Brewer, is starting in left field tonight for the Redlegs. He's 3 for 3 already with 7 RBIs through the first 4 innings.
Wow.
Have a day, Scooter.
Yeah, how about Adam Wainwright? Wow. Brewers have never seen him like that before.
Gennett's hit 2 homers in that game. Why did we get rid of that guy, Rocks? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm glad to see Scooter doing well. That's a spot where he is very familiar. Cincinnati. He grew up there until the age of 12, and he's essentially playing for his hometown team, the Cincinnati Reds. So that was a good pickup for them, and good opportunity for Scooter to prove he belongs in the big leagues. Brewers have such an influx of middle infielders specifically. Thames fouls it away. First time Adam Wainwright's given up 9 earned runs in a game in a long time. 4 years, I think, was the last time. That was also against Cincinnati. Matt Cain to Thames. Outside for a ball. 2-2 now.
Hard to believe, but a little bit more understandable since the game is in Cincinnati. Pretty good hitter's park.
The National League Central Division is chock full of hitters' parks when it warms up. That's a called strike 3. Thames will take a seat. Matt Cain with his 2nd strikeout. And it'll be Jesus Aguilar now with a runner at first. Marlins and the Cubs are at it tonight. They go to the 3rd inning. That game is being broadcast live on Twitter. Tuesday nights, MLB has live games on Twitter that you can watch. And that's the Marlins and the Cubs tonight. 1-0 Marlins. Brewers in a virtual tie with the Cubs atop the National League Central. Cubs are percentage points ahead of Milwaukee. And then the Brewers have a 2.5 game lead over St. Louis. Aguilar out to short. Crawford will flip it to Panic, who turns a double play. And Matt Cain has his best inning. A 3-batter inning for Matt Cain. We're enjoying it. Brewers lead 5-0 as we go to the 5th inning. Park at the Park night at Miller Park. By the way, they issued the latest release of the All-Star voting for the American League, and a big shift in the American League. Aaron Judge, the rookie from the Yankees, off to a blazing start, and he is now in an All-Star starting position in right field. Mike Trout's on the disabled list, but Trout is top vote getter in the American League. Michael Brantley has moved into the All-Star voting among the leaders as well. Michael Brantley is a former Brewer, you might remember, was in the CC Sabathia trade. He was the player to be named later in that deal.
That was a great trade for the Brewers. Got him into the playoffs. I think that's a trade that the Brewers would do every single time, without question. That and a Greinke deal, a no doubter.
Well, Buster Posey, multiple All-Star participant. Posey, still one of the elite catchers in the game. He's having a good year as well. Posey is among league leaders in batting average, on base percentage. 4-time All-Star is Posey. Been an MVP. Won the MVP in 2012. That was the second of the Giants' 3 World Series in a 5-year span.
Just amazing, though, that Posey with only 15 RBIs.
That is hard to believe.
I mean, he's got 7 home runs, so there's 7 right there, minimum. And we're sitting here in the first week in June.
Think about Buster Posey's career. Despite the production this season, and you know, a lot of that hangs on the folks ahead of him. But here's a guy, Rock, who's 30 years of age, right? He's won 3 World Series. He's been the Rookie of the Year. He's been an MVP. He's won a batting title. Last year, he won the Gold Glove Award behind the plate in the National League. And that is a huge upheaval of Yadier Molina, who had reigns on that award for almost a decade.
Yep.
And he's got a lot of baseball to be played. He suffered a gruesome injury at home plate. That was in 2011. Just completely blew up his ankle at the plate. You know, you weren't sure how he was going to come back. If he comes back, is he going to be able to catch? But the surgery was a success. The rehab was a success for Posey, and he's just been one of the great players in the game. He's one of the faces of the game.
And without a doubt, keeps his nose clean. He's a good ambassador of the game. Does great in the community in San Francisco, and to me, that's all part of what Buster Posey brings to the table.
You know, he's one of those guys you're looking at age 30. We did this with Clayton Kershaw the other day, as Posey sends one to center field. Broxton on the run. He's got it for the out. First out of the inning for Chase Anderson in the 5th. But we did this for Clayton Kershaw the other day. Here's Posey in year 9. And if his career ended today, I mean, you got to be in consideration for the Hall of Fame with what he's accomplished. He's not going to have the massive numbers due to longevity, but he's definitely a top player in this generation of players.
No doubt. I mean, but I don't know about, you know, Hall of Fame at this point. I mean, you take away the 3 World Championships, and he's probably not. Would you agree?
No, I agree with that for sure.
I think the 3 World Championships, I mean, set him, you know, a
yeah,
step
the numbers, the longevity numbers, you know, the accumulation of numbers aren't there, but it is incredible what he's been able to accomplish at such a young age.
Right.
2010 was his first full season in the big leagues, and of course that was the year that the Giants won their first in this run of World Series titles, and he was a huge part of it that year. Rookie of the Year that season.
Yeah, he was good as soon as he stepped onto the field.
Crawford fouls it back.
Didn't he start his career here in Milwaukee? Very close to it.
In 2010, Posey made it back to the. He made a couple of games, made a couple of appearances in the big leagues in 2009.
Remember, he came here. I either started it or he had been up for about a week. Not sure what it was.
There was a series here in Milwaukee. He drove in, I think it was 7 earned runs. That was in July. He didn't start his career in Milwaukee, but let me back up a season. I'm looking at Baseball Reference to make sure. I don't.
Maybe not. I remember he was a young player and had a heck of a series.
Crawford rolls over one. Aguilar flips it and misses the flip to Chase Anderson. And Crawford is going to reach. Aguilar is getting him in his glove, but having a hard time getting him over to the bag.
Yeah, it looks like Chase is going to get over there in good shape. It's just not able to handle the flip. A little bit behind Chase, and probably going to be a base hit. Maybe not. Maybe an E3.
We'll see how they score it. It's a 1-out base runner against Anderson. Giants have actually had a man reach in every inning but the second, and yet Anderson has still faced one over the minimum at this point. And just to clean it up, so Posey, he made that 2010 season. He was a September call-up in 09, but the 10 season he came up against the Diamondbacks at home. But that series he had, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That series he had in Milwaukee, which was in July of that year, that was a 4-game series, and he lit up the Brewers. Had a 6 RBI game, had 9 RBIs in that 4-game series. That's going to skip away from Bandy, and Crawford advances to second base.
Yeah, the Brewers had a pass ball last night. This will be another one. That was a pretty good pitch, and Bandy just not able to hold on to it.
So an E3 gets Crawford to first officially, and now a passed ball gets him to second base. Giants have a runner in scoring position for the first time tonight. And a swing and a miss. 1-2. Anderson had Hunter Pence jumping in that batter's box.
And back-to-back curveballs. Not exactly where you want to leave it, up and in, but it worked.
There's a lot of happy feet going on right there. On the ground to Arcia. Pence is retired. Crawford advances.
Hey, you might not ever need an umbrella inside Miller Park, but that doesn't mean your Brewers umbrella wouldn't come in handy. The Brewers host the Padres on Sunday, June 8th, and the first 20,000 fans get a Brewers golf umbrella courtesy of Palermo's Frozen Pizza. Visit Brewers.com for tickets.
Two gone in the inning. Runner at third base for Joe Panik. What surprises you about the Giants the most is the fact that you go through this lineup. And these are big names here. These are clutch players who have delivered in the postseason, had World Series moments. And they are struggling, and there's really nowhere to go. You're not, there aren't 3 or 4 guys in the minor leagues that are going to supplant some of these guys and going to turn the Giants around. These guys have to be the ones that turn the Giants around if it's going to happen. But it's all down a tick for the Giants. Look at these names: Belt and Panik, Pence and Span, who have long careers, and everybody is below their numbers.
Big contracts and big payroll for the Giants, and
Aguilar makes a backhanded stop. He hits Anderson this time. Finally finds his man. That was a good time for it. Saves a run. He's busy over there, Jesus Aguilar. Four-run second inning that was started with a Hernan Perez homer. He led off the second against Matt Cain and hit the lights out of one. Way back in the bleachers, halfway up on the Loge level. Home run number 7 for Hernan Perez. He is on the board, the Powerball home run leaderboard. Eric Thames still leads away with 15. A home run shy of the National League lead is Thames. And Perez will get us started here in the bottom of the 5th inning. 5 runs on 10 Brewer hits. Chase Anderson continues to pitch very well. Slow roller right to Cain, and he'll make the play for out number 1. By the way, we want to send out a special anniversary congratulatory message. 47th wedding anniversary for our terrific official scorer, Tim O'Driscoll. Tim and Carol O'Driscoll celebrating their 47th wedding anniversary today. And how are they celebrating it? Tim's working the game as the official scorer.
A part as usual. Baseball, a big part of Tim's life, and we want to make sure that we send out our congratulations to his wife. Tim O'Driscoll was the official scorer for the Brewers when I was playing.
Took a lot of hits away from you, man.
Yeah, he did. I remind him of that a lot. I said, you've softened up a lot over the years. I think he said he started in '87.
There's a liner right to Nunez, and Bandy once again has Nunez take a hit away from him.
He said my lack of speed kind of took some hits away from him.
He's a
31
great
years,
man.
31 years he's been doing this.
So it's an awesome accomplishment. He is still affiliated with the Arrowhead high school baseball program. They're in the playoffs, and he was a longtime coach there. The field is named after Tim O'Driscoll.
See that hole right behind him? A foul ball from somebody.
Could be dangerous up there.
There it is.
That looks like it says Alcides Escobar 2009. They label all the drywall holes. It makes it easier than to fix them.
Right. There's a bunch of them up there.
There's a Carlos Gomez up there. Matt Dominguez. Who knows what you're going to see? Mike Cameron off Cliff Lee. That's what I'm going to start doing in my house. All those holes in the wall. I'll just start writing on them.
How'd they get there?
Brian Anderson, 2017.
How'd they get there?
Double bogey on 13.
Oh, is that what it was? Golf clubs?
Broxton with a swing and a miss. Down he goes on strikes. 1-2-3 inning. Our crack reporter Scoops Menard is going to attempt to interview real dogs when we come back at Park in the Park night at Miller Park.
First bark at the park night, and there was a pregame parade. Nearly 300 dogs paraded at the Miller Park. This was Tara. She is best in show, BA and Rock. She's a Great Dane, 7 years old, all 160 pounds of her. Joined now by her family, Colleen, Hadley, their daughter. And Colleen, just tell me about the experience here, taking your dog around the field at Miller Park and winning best in show.
Yes, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Say hi.
Hadley's excited too, but just it's kind of cool up here. Everyone's enjoying the game with their dogs, and just everyone taking in the scene and the parade and enjoying the evening.
Yes, it's a lot of fun.
All right, guys, we'll go back to you, but it's certainly a nice scene up here. I think Rupert and Chestnut would have a lot of fun and make a lot of new friends.
Yeah, no kidding. Reggie too. She's a woman of few words. That dog was twice as big as Sophia.
I'm telling you, there's some big dogs out there.
Marmaduke. 5-0 Brewers. Chase Anderson with the shutout string alive in his third game here. Chase has not allowed an earned run going back to his start against the Cubs on May 21st. 19 consecutive scoreless innings for Chase Anderson. And he's done it very efficiently here tonight. He's gotten some double play balls. 2 of them. There's been a strike him out, throw him out double play. That one's on the ground to third. Perez fires to first and not in time. Austin Slater beat it out. This is a close one here.
Yeah, pretty close play at first base. Good stretch by Aguilar. I don't know. That might get reversed. It looked to me like that ball was in the glove before Slater's foot went down.
They will ask for a review. An official challenge coming from Craig Counsell. You're right. The foot went to the side of the bag.
Well, the first angle, not this one. The first one we saw really showed it well. Foot not down. I think he's going to be out. Here's the angle right here. Check out the baseball, where the baseball is. When does it make contact? Right there. I don't think the foot just got down. Could be close, but it could easily be overturned.
That's great work in the truck. Great camera work to get that image. And the tape room putting it right on the spot of decision. We'll see if this one is overturned.
That's a nice play by Perez. Had to get rid of it quickly. That's a bang call over at first base by Tom Woodring.
Woodring is the calling umpire, 75 on his sleeve. He's over there with the crew chief, Ron Kolpa. The man on the right.
This is the definitive angle. Now it's when the ball hits the glove, not when the glove closes. It's right there. I don't know. That's going to be that's pretty close.
Now we're giving you the looks that I'm sure they are toggling back and forth with in Chelsea, New York at the Major League Baseball Replay Center. It's out of these umpires' hands on the field. It is now with these replay umpires. They're going to call him out. So good call, partner. You're right on it. Overturned. Technology wins.
That was a bang bang. That's one of the closest ones that we've seen get overturned. Really good play by Hernan Perez. The tough part of this play is getting the ball out of the glove. He's coming in so hard. Getting the ball out of the glove and getting a strong throw to first. He does that and ultimately gets an out.
So one away. Back into the windup goes Chase Anderson. He'll face a pinch hitter here, Kelby Tomlinson. Spelling the end of the night for Matt Cain, who labored through 5 innings, giving up 10 hits and 5 earned runs. Oh, and 2 the count.
And Tomlinson pinch hit last night, got a base hit.
Giants were able to stretch a lead last night. They won the game 7-2. And Anderson strikes out Kelby Tomlinson for the second out of the inning, and for Chase Anderson, strikeout number 4.
Putting that fastball exactly where Bandy wanted it. He gave the high sign right away, and then Anderson put it right by him, up in the strike zone, out of the zone. Another really good day on the mound for Chase Anderson as far as location goes.
2 outs, top of the order. Here is Span. Strike 1.
First pitch changeup.
Span singled on the first pitch of the ball game, or rather in his first at bat of the ball game. A clean single to center field. One of only 2 hits Anderson has allowed. The other was an infield hit by Nunez. Center field, Broxton coming in fast. Can't get there, and a base hit for Denard Span. Didn't hit it all that well, but he's aboard. Has 2 of the 3 Giants hits tonight.
Well, Chase got one down the middle, and Span, although he got jammed on it pretty good, you can see where Broxton's playing, not that deep. Got a decent jump, but just didn't hit it hard enough, and falls in front of him for a 2-out single.
Just to give you a comparison on Chase Anderson, one way to measure effectiveness by a pitcher is average exit velocity off of that pitcher by the hitters. And if you're missing the middle of the bat, that was hit hard back up the middle by Eduardo Nunez, who has 2 more hits tonight. So Rock, coming into play tonight, Chase Anderson's average exit velocity against 84.6 miles an hour. That's the 7th lowest number in the major leagues among pitchers who qualify, like starting pitchers. That pretty much sums up the fact that he's missing bats regularly.
And missing bats and keeping hitters off balance, because he's been able to throw all 4 of his pitches for strikes anytime he wants. At least it's been that way for a few starts now. Not being predictable, and even when he's behind in the count, he's been able to keep the baseball off the barrel.
And maybe what's most impressive about that number is the fact that Chase Anderson, who's never been an overpowering fastball pitcher, has turned himself into one a little bit this year. So average exit velocity against his fastball is 84 miles an hour. It's even better than his overall numbers. And he is throwing a lot harder this year than he did last season. 2 to 3 miles an hour faster consistently.
It's a little bit of that, but I think One of the reasons why his fastball has been more effective is because his curveball and changeup have been so good.
Yeah, it all works together.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
right. I mean, the curveball and the changeup slow those bats down, and then he zips that fastball in there that tonight has been in there as high as 95 miles an hour. You get down on the hands that way.
1-1 pitch. Belt jammed by a fastball. That's fair. Went right over the bag. A race to the bag, and Aguilar wins that one. And Chase Anderson strands 2 more, and that scoreless streak is now at 20 consecutive innings for Chase.
To the bottom of the 6th, 5-0 over the Giants. And tonight's time of the game winner, Yanger's Pub in Watertown. If they call the Brewers by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, they get 40 tickets to a Friday night game in the Miller Lite Beer Pen. It's offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and Miller Lite.
Say hey to all of our friends in Watertown watching the ball game tonight.
You know, Leinenkugels is celebrating their 150th anniversary, talking about Miller.
Is that right?
That's this year. That's a big deal.
Yeah, 150 years.
150 years. They're actually putting together a special beer to celebrate that. I asked for some samples, but
double them up. The sesquicentennial, right? Is that what you call it?
Right.
Corey Guerin is in for the Giants, and first ball swinging is Arcia. Flies to left.
Leinenkugels up in Chippewa Falls. As Corey Guerin takes over here in the 6th inning, 23rd game, a 166 earned run average. Good numbers for Guerin. Has not given up a home run this year. That is a bright spot out in that bullpen for San Francisco.
Chase Anderson at the plate. Got a nice hand on his way up. Chase Anderson, as a major league hitter, had never had an extra base hit until his double in the 3rd inning off Matt Cain. Double in an RBI. It came with 2 outs. It was the 5th run scored for the Brewers. And he almost hit it out. It was 3/4 away up the wall and left. Did it on a curveball as well, providing his own power.
It was a hanger, but he hit it off the wall. Good job. You know, we've been getting pictures of all these dogs tonight. You know what? The official, unofficial dog of the Brewers. You know, we know Hank. We haven't seen Hank in a while, but you know, Squirt, Eddie's dog.
Oh yeah, the unofficial dog of the Brewers.
I mean, everybody loves Squirt.
Sure, who doesn't?
We've got to have a picture of Squirt somewhere, don't we?
Oh, you don't have one? I thought this was a whole setup.
No. They got to have
You're
one.
just putting it out there.
They've got to have one. There he is.
Squirt Cedar.
Yeah.
Ed Cedar, by the way, is the man who discovered Hank.
Right.
As a stray in Arizona a few years back, and the dog lover that he is. As Anderson strikes out, Eddie would leave water and food for Hank, and wasn't named Hank at the time, but the rest was history. Turned into quite the story. Here comes Eric Sogard. He is in tonight's AARP Getting to Know Player Profile. Sogard with a 7-1 record as the Brewers leadoff hitter. A win tonight would make him 8-1. And a fun fact, he started wearing glasses in high school. We were talking about last night with Kelby Tomlinson and Eric Sogard in the game together as the two players that wear glasses. I need to get a little more specific because I heard from a lot of people in various avenues yesterday. I know there are a lot of people who wear like the rec specs or the Oakleys that have the corrective lenses in them. I'm talking about the more traditional eyewear that most players don't wear, like Sogard and Tomlinson. That's what I meant by the only two. Glad we got that cleaned up.
All right now.
I can feel those thumbs on Twitter right now. Take those thumbs away. John's delivery of the game, and Chase Anderson is back in there. He's been in there his last 3 starts, and he just continues to dominate. 20 consecutive scoreless innings. Anderson has only allowed 3 hits at this point and has gotten 3 double plays around him tonight.
He's only had the one traditional 3-up 3-down inning, but a couple of double plays have gotten him out of a couple of jams, and continues to throw the baseball well. We talked about it on the air, getting a lot of mileage out of the off-speed stuff.
Buster Posey will lead off for the Giants. 7th inning now. Anderson with back-to-back 7-inning games, not allowing a run. Anderson was the Brewer pitcher of the month for April. Had a 2.10 ERA in 5 starts in the first month of the season. He also won that award in the final month of play last season. Actually won it in September and October last year. The season spilled over into the October month, so this guy has found a new gear. Posey lines one to center field, a base hit. Tough to keep that guy down. That's an 8-game hitting streak now for Posey with his first hit of the night.
Hey, join the Brewers for Faith Day at Miller Park, presented by Thrivent Financial on Saturday, June 17th. The Brewers take on the Padres, and after the game, all fans are invited to stick around for a free post-game concert by Mercy Me. For tickets and details, visit brewers.com/theme nights.
Great band. Look forward to having them at Miller Park this season. Well, the weather is turning gorgeous. School's almost out for just about everybody. A lot of kids are out of school. Just about all of Wisconsin students will be done by the end of this week. There's a bouncer to third. Got a chance to turn it. Perez to second. Sogard, what a catch. And the throw to first in time.
Turn by Sogard.
Amazing play by the Brewers second baseman right there.
Yeah, he was had a long way to go. He was shaded over in the hole a little bit. Perez threw it right over the bag, and that's the only way that they're going to be able to turn that double play. He couldn't wait for him to get there. Check this out. Good throw by Perez. Sogard not even there yet, and they were able to get the double play. Third one of the day behind Chase Anderson.
Something special. This guy every day delivers something special. It has been quite a run here in the big leagues for Eric Sogard, and yet another double play for the Brewers, the fourth of the game. 3 of those are ground ball double plays. The other was a strike him out, throw him out double play.
Trying to forget about that one. 4 double plays. Already leading the league.
Hunter Pence, 2 outs, 7th inning. A wave and a miss. 0-2 the count. He is locked in. Pitch count in great shape. This will be number 97, working here in the 7th. Bouncing ball, backing up on it. Perez, long throw, good throw. Inning over. 21 consecutive scoreless innings for Chase Anderson, and a beautiful double play. That is something special by Eric Sogard. Bottom of the 7th coming. Stretch time at Miller Park.
For the Brewers here in the 7th, and the Brewers Community Foundation serves as the charitable arm of the Milwaukee Brewers Baseball Club. Focused areas of interest include health, education, recreation, and basic needs. They're proudly funding approximately 200 nonprofit organizations that are serving children and their families in the area. So certainly we love the work that Cecilia Gore, Katina Shaw, and the entire BCF team, along with all the players, do over the course of the season.
All right, Sophia, thanks. We echo that sentiment. They do great work. They work hard at it. Domingo Santana will lead off for the Brewers. It is 5-0. Santana into center field, playable for Span. 1 pitch and 1 out here in this Brewer half of the 7th. Well, the Brewer bullpen is active right now, which would lead you to believe that Chase Anderson is done for the night. 7 scoreless innings, 3rd straight outing of 7 scoreless innings.
Incredible stuff by Chase. Wow.
I don't know. I mean, Torres is getting loose. Chase, normally when they're there on the bench like that, they are still thinking they're coming into the game. We'll see.
Yeah, if they're told they're done, they're not going to be sitting in like that by themselves. They're going to be up on that railing talking to other guys. And
normally Torres is a guy who gets loose quickly. So as you take a look at the night of Eric Thames, presented by Wendy's at the plate. Had a hit his first time up, and a bouncer over to Belt. 2 outs.
Yeah, Chase's pitch counts at 97, so he might be able to send him out there. His last 2 starts, he was able to go over 100 pitches, 114 against the Diamondbacks, a career high. Last time out, 7 innings at New York, 104.
Well, the Brewers are sitting here with 6 outs to get, and a shutout on the board. And if you're a manager, it's that balance between, do we want to try to keep him fresh, try to keep him going? He's got a shutout going. There used to be a day you wouldn't dare take a pitcher out of a game with a shutout. But that day's gone. You want to make sure you got a guy for the long haul.
Well, the other thing that I think Craig Counsell has to think about is, what is his best opportunity to get through the 8th inning? I believe he would prefer not to have to use Barnes and Knebel with a 5-0 lead. Those guys have been worked a lot.
Yeah, good point. Aguilar with a liner that's over the glove of Crawford. A base hit for Jesus. 2-out single for Aguilar, his 2nd hit of the game. Good day at the office for Aguilar, who's been busy at first base.
Yeah, that sidearm breaking pitch, it didn't do much, but it was outer half, and Aguilar with those big long arms able to hook it out of the reach of Crawford. So a 2-out single,
which will bring Hernan Perez to the plate. He jump started that 4-run 2nd inning with a homer. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Guerin deals strike 1. Don't forget, this is a 4-game series. It's a series that wraps up Thursday afternoon with a day game. We're back at it tomorrow night for game 3, and then game 4 Thursday afternoon, and then the Brewers are headed out on the road. Right back to Guerin, and that'll be the inning, and we're headed to the 8th. 5-0. Chase Anderson, is he coming back out? Looks like it. Toyota game reset. Chase Anderson, the big story once again here tonight, and Rocky's been helped by some terrific defense behind him.
Yeah, 4 double plays, 3 ground ball double plays, but it has been all Chase Anderson with that good location, keeping the ball on the ground. Hadn't had too many fly ball outs, a lot of ground ball outs. That's because of that good 2-seam fastball. And the changeup's been good. There's a strike him out, throw him out, and that's an easy double play, getting Nunez on a stolen base attempt. So third consecutive start for Chase. Outstanding work.
And he's back out there to start the 8th. We saw Carlos Torres loosening in the bullpen. And Torres continues with light tossing in the bullpen right now, but this is Anderson's game. Working on a 5-hit shutout through 7. He'll face Joe Panik to start it. Bottom of the order coming up for the Giants. Panik, Slater, and then the pitcher spot.
Back-to-back changeups. Got to swing that time.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Anderson at 101 pitches. 65 of those are strikes tonight. Working quickly, and that one is in the air. A fly ball, shallow left field. Thames will put it away for the out. Out number 1 for Chase Anderson here in the 8th. If you're wondering what the Brewer record for consecutive scoreless innings, Teddy Higuera in 1987 had a streak of 32 consecutive scoreless innings. You were right in the middle of that, Rock. That was in starting in late August through mid-September.
Let's think about that Oral Hershiser record. Man. I mean, that's unbelievable. Was it 59?
Yeah. We just saw Oral here with the Dodgers. He does television now. We're talking about that streak, and you know, he was really sharing some things that we never knew about. You know, he wasn't feeling all that well. His arm was kind of tired. He was pitching in a little bit of pain, had some leg problems, and it turned into more of a dissertation of how to succeed and continue when you're not physically at your best.
Right.
Truly the art of pitching.
That's why they call him the Bulldog. Yeah, he was something else.
Over the head of Anderson, coming across is Perez. Arcia is there too, but that'll be an infield hit for Austin Slater. The 6th hit.
A good pitch again by Anderson, and not a whole lot you can do about that.
Decision time here for Counsell. He's thinking about it, looking at the card.
And give him another hitter, see if we can get a double play ball.
There's a strike to Aaron Hill, pinch hitting. He delivered a big blow last night for the Giants. Had a 2 RBI double, came with 2 outs and a pinch hit appearance. Hasn't been playing much. He only has 42 plate appearances on the disabled list. This was the key moment last night. Aaron Hill, the former Brewer, got one down and in, and he didn't miss it. His wheelhouse. And it was a game changer. Giants took the lead and added to it. Ended up winning the ball game yesterday by a final of 7-2. Scahill took the loss last night. Jeff Samardzija was fantastic last night. He got the win for the Giants. He's been a bright spot for them despite a poor record. He's pitching well. Oh, and 2 the count. Just missed.
That could have been called.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Hill. Little off the plate. Longest outing of the year for Chase Anderson. Now that he's recorded an out, Hill sends one to left. Long run for Thames in foul territory, makes a catch. A sliding grab by Eric Thames. Nice play for the second out of the inning.
Boy, that ball was up in the air a long time, and Thames had plenty of time to get underneath it. He took his eye off it, took a look at Arcia just for a second, but able to haul it in on the slide in foul ground. Nice play.
Yeah, excellent play. Best way to stop yourself as he was approaching the tarp. And looks like that's going to be it for Chase Anderson. Longest outing of the year, 7 2/3 innings. And the scoreless streak is intact, setting up his next start. Council is going to make a double switch. Chase Anderson will exit, and they'll rise to their feet at Miller Park. Looking at the Brewers' best pitcher right now, Chase Anderson. Another terrific performance. Milwaukee Brewers baseball on Fox Sports Wisconsin is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light beer. Tip of the cap from Chase Anderson. That has become a regular endeavor here at Miller Park. This guy's rolling right now. 7 2/3 scoreless. There is a runner at first base. That is his responsibility, so you can't close the book just yet. Anderson is out. Brett Phillips will enter on the double switch. Second game in the major leagues for Brett Phillips. He'll enter the game in left field, and here is Carlos Torres. And it would lead you to believe that Craig Counsell wants Torres to try to finish this game.
Yeah, he had it roughed up on Saturday against the Dodgers. Took a loss. Came in the game in the ninth with a 3-run lead, looking to close it out, but the Dodgers erupted for 5 runs.
But Torres in the spot vacated by Thames, and a bouncer right to Arcia. Shift is on. Inning is over, and the zeros are still on the board. Chase Anderson, 7 2/3 scoreless today, in line for the win.
Park, and every good dog needs a good owner. I guess Bernie is Hank's owner, you could say, and there they are, some 900 dogs here at the dog park. This is the first time the Brewers have had this, and it's been noisy in the right field corner above us, but that's okay, because they're cheering for the Brew Crew tonight. And Chase Anderson, what a performance again.
Well, you know, a model of consistency, and one of the things, you know, I thought he was throwing the ball well, commanded his pitches, you know, got himself a little trouble, but, you know, what happened in the first, fourth, third, and seventh innings, double plays. And that's a pitcher's best friend, and when you get in trouble, throw a ground ball, and you got the guys out there to turn it.
All right, good stuff there. Strike him out, throw him out in that group as well. And we'll talk about Anderson's role. He's on right now. And a big second inning for Milwaukee. We'll hear from Craig Counsell, all coming up. Brewers Live, presented by Ascension, our post-game report.
All right, we're looking forward to that, guys. Craig and Davey. And Sophia will be in the clubhouse with interviews. So far, a good news story for the Brewers. Bottom of the 8th inning. Brewers-Giants, game 2. And Brian Morris is on the pitch for San Francisco, facing Jet Bandy to start it. Bandy could easily have 3 hits in this game tonight. Nunez has robbed him twice. He does have a single to center field. Nunez has made 2 good plays on him. 1 for 3.
Yeah, he's opened some eyes here in Milwaukee with his defense at third base. Outstanding glove.
And that one down the line, just foul for Bandy. So Chase Anderson will go into his next start officially with 21 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. There is a little discrepancy on the fractional innings when you're talking about a scoreless streak. And probably the best way to put it is, had Anderson given up a run in that inning, or a reliever given up the runner at first and allowed him to score, you would have backed up the consecutive scoreless streak as Bandy strikes out. You would have backed it up to 21 innings. But since he left the game, that's the only time you count the fractional innings. Right. It'd be a third or 2/3 of an inning. So the streak is still intact, and then there is the 21 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. And if you remember the Don Drysdale record that he had for many years until Hershiser went 59 consecutive, that was a fractional innings pitched record for Drysdale, 58 2/3. So I know there's always discussion about starting pitchers and consecutive scoreless innings, but that's how you differentiate.
Right. Yeah. Still fairly impressive. Pretty impressive for Chase. I mean, given, you know, the fact that you know, he had a rough stretch right before this good stretch began. Couldn't find a curveball, changeup inconsistent. All of a sudden against the Diamondbacks, wow, something clicked in him, and you know, things have been much different.
There's some really good names on the consecutive scoreless innings streak roster for the Brewers. As I mentioned, Teddy Higuera had the 32 consecutive scoreless. That is the Brewer franchise record, 1987. Second on that list is Moose Haas, who had 28 scoreless, and tied for second is the Pirates pitching coach and your old buddy Ray Searage, who had 28 consecutive scoreless. It's a good one. By the way, we got breaking news in Cincinnati here tonight. Remember, we gave you an update a while back. Scooter Gennett had 2 homers and 7 RBIs. He's hit 4 home runs tonight.
10 ribbies
against the Cardinals. 4 home runs and 10 RBIs.
Have a night, Scoot. Way to go.
He has tied a major league record for home runs in a game. Broxton bounces back to the mound. 2 outs. This is an incredible night of news here in Cincinnati. There's home run number 1, grand slam by Gennett off Wainwright. Number 2, at that point, had 7 RBIs. Then he launched a solo shot to the opposite field for his 8th RBI, 3rd home run of the night. And then he hit a 2-run shot. what's just happened.
Yeah.
Man, that's a whole month.
5 for 5, 10 ribbies.
Wow. What's his batting average right now?
302.
He might just wrapped up Player of the Week honors in the National League in one night. The last 4 home run game, you remember? It's been a while.
It was here, wasn't it? Sean Green?
That's one of them, but that's not the last one.
Not the last one?
No. The last one happened 5 years ago. Josh Hamilton, 2012.
Right.
Garcia grounds out to end the inning. What a night. A lot of headlines, a lot of highlights. 5-0 Brewers. By Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. Beautiful night for baseball. Moon is up, shining brightly tonight. 5-0 Crew. The Powerball home run count for Milwaukee on this homestand is now at 7. Brewers have had some big home runs, timely home runs in this series. Dropped 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, but they felt like they could have swept that series. And the win on Sunday with Santana giving the Brewers some insurance. Brewers have gotten a home run tonight from Hernan Perez, which jump-started that 4-run second inning.
Yeah, Brewers second in the National League in home runs behind the Nationals.
Brewers have hit 3 more home runs on this homestand in game number 5 than Scooter Gennett has hit tonight for the Reds. There was a 4-homer game in Milwaukee. There's been a few. Sean Green hit one here, had one here at Miller Park. Willie Mays had a 4-homer game in Milwaukee in 1961, playing for the Giants. Hank Aaron hit 2 home runs in that game. Bouncer up the middle, base hit. And a single for Eduardo Nunez. This guy is crazy hot right now. His 3rd hit of the game. That's tomorrow's matchup. Ty Block, who threw a complete game shutout his last time out against the Phillies, against Jimmy Nelson, who is pitching very well as well. Good matchup tomorrow. 6:30 airtime on Fox Sports Wisconsin for Brewers Live. That's our Miller Lite What's on Tap.
Jimmy throwing a lot of strikes these days.
Brandon Belt with a base hit to right field. Nunez on his way to 3rd, and Belt is aboard. Well, you don't have have to remind Brewer fans what happened in the 9th inning against the Dodgers on Saturday with Torres on the mound. And
well, already Corey Knebel has to get loose. That's what Craig Counsell was trying to avoid with a 5-0 lead. Belt got it down on the handle a little bit, but muscles it into right field. And now Counsell forced to get him up in the bullpen.
It'll be a safe situation when the tying run, when and if the tying run moves on deck. Right now, Torres game. Nobody out, 2 on, 5-0 Brewers. Trying to put this one on cruise control to the finish line, but Giants are having none of it. And a bouncer through, base hit. Posey singles. Run is in. Shutout is lost. Giants are up there swinging early in the count and delivering with hits. 3 consecutive.
And now the tying run in the on-deck circle. And it looks like Craig Counsell wants Manny to go out and have a chat with Torres, maybe just to give Knebel a little bit of time to get loose. He just started to throw, finds a hole into left field. And this is the last thing Counsell wanted to have to do is bring his closer in the game, and it's going to get a little bit nerve-wracking out there for the Brewers. This game was on cruise control, as you mentioned, for 8 innings.
Derek Johnson on his way. Torres had a very heavy workload last year for the Brewers. And prior to that last outing, that rough outing when he gave up the 5 runs against the Dodgers, his numbers were pretty good, and he had been coming into situations to get out of innings. But the eye test would tell you he is not as crisp with his stuff as he was last year, right? I mean, he threw a lot of strikes last year, and he's been pitching behind often this season.
Well, the cutter's not the same as it was last year, and you know there have been times this year where it's been good. Not getting the tilt on it, maybe breaking a little bit early, and hitters have been able to square him up.
2 on, a run in, nobody out. Brandon Crawford at the plate. A long ball here makes it a 1-run game with Hunter Pence coming up. There's a strike.
Well, right now it is a save situation if Corey Knebel were to come into the game.
Counsell's going to let it ride with Torres, see if he can get a ground ball perhaps. And he gets it. He goes to second. Bad throw. Into center field it goes. Another run will score. 5-2 now.
Well, that's certainly going to be it. That should have been a double play ball. They don't get anybody. And now Hunter Pence is coming in. They're coming up representing the tying run. All of a sudden, there's still nobody out. Like deja vu. Double play ball written all over it. Just a bad throw. Should have been a double play. They get nobody. And here comes Knebel.
First 4 batters have reached. That'll be an E1. And Torres is on his way out. Boy, 2 rough outings in a game. You're trying to build a little confidence for Carlos Torres. And just the opposite has happened. Now Knebel coming in with 2 on, nobody out, and the Brewers lead is down to 3. thing down, but he's got his work cut out for him now. He does have a 3-run lead to work with, but there are 2 men on here in the 9th inning and nobody out with Hunter Pence coming up.
They can't make a mistake here. The guy in the batter's box represents the tying run. Knebel's been very good, a 129 earned run average. He does have 3 blown saves. He picked up number 5 on Sunday against the Dodgers. And he's got first and second, nobody out, and Hunter Pence coming to the plate.
Pence has been on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. His last homer was May 8th. Homered against Jacob deGrom. He can get to big velocity. This is a very scary at bat here for the Brewers, especially in light of what happened against the Dodgers here Saturday night, when they had a 3-run lead in the 9th and the Dodgers scored 5. Knebel with the hard fastball, and he starts him with a hook in there for a strike. Wow.
Well, he had yesterday off, but Craig Counsell was hoping to give him a lot more than that. That sharp breaking curveball and the big 95+ fastball.
Oh, and 2 the count. Knebel with 5 saves. He's got Hunter Pence 0-2. Here it comes, and a high fastball fouled away.
Man, that's what you're talking about. Able to get on top of that high heat at 97. Got to be careful with this guy. Yeah, good hook down in the dirt.
Runner at second is Posey. Crawford's at first. Costly error by Torres in this 9th inning. 0-2 pitch. Pence waves and misses. There's the big hook. And Corey Knebel with a big strikeout of Hunter Pence.
Yeah, the thing that makes that pitch so effective is hitters have to gear up for that fastball. You know, 97, 98. You got to start that bat early, and they get that, and that's the kind of swing you get. That was on a 0-2 pitch.
Could tell in the body movement. The flight of that ball had him completely bewildered. It's all brand new here for Knebel. He's just entering into that closer's role. Brewers went on the road to San Diego, and Counsell certainly fully aware of that. I will say about Knebel, he has been impressive shaking off blown saves, and he's had some gut punching blown saves over the last couple of weeks. That's what you have to have as a closer, a short memory.
Right. Last line of defense is not easy.
Curveball lands for a strike. 1-1 the count on Joe Panik. The Brewers have 4 double plays in this game. 3 of them ground ball double plays. 1 more would suit them right here. On the ground, bouncing ball to Aguilar. Only 1 play, and there is out number 2. And 1 more piece to the puzzle here for Corey Knebel.
Aguilar not worrying about a throw to second base. He realizes that that run over there doesn't mean anything. They wanted to keep that batter off base, get the ground ball tagged first.
So you learn from your mistakes, right?
Tried to do a little bit too much on Saturday and backfired on him.
There was no chance Aguilar was going to throw that ball to second base.
Not tonight.
Not out of the woods yet. Austin Slater at the plate. Second and third, 2 outs. Swing and a miss. Made him look bad. Curveball is tight tonight for Corey Knebel.
Looking fastball, getting that.
Good block back there by Bandy. Posey's over at third, had a single and an RBI. Crawford reached on an error. Knebel retired Pence and Panic. And the rookie Slater at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike. Corey deals it. And a fastball just missed. 98 miles an hour.
Now hitters count. What does he do?
Got a base open at first. Pitcher spot due up next. We'd have a pinch hitter for the Giants. Looks like Nick Hundley is on deck. Ooh. Late swing on a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and that'll put the count at 2-2. Bark at the park night is a strike away from a royal success. Two and two, 2 outs. Second and third, tying run at the plate. And a shot right to Sogard on a hop. Throw to first in time. Ball game over. And Corey Knebel puts the lid back on the jar. A save for Knebel makes a winner out of Chase Anderson. And the Brewers even up this series at a game apiece. Thriller tonight. It turned out to be a 5-2 Brewer win.
Another great job by Chase Anderson tonight. The Brewers were able to get all their runs in a couple of innings. A 4-run second. They scored a run in the third, and that's all they needed. Hernan Perez with a big home run tonight.
Brewers shaking hands, and a win tonight gives them their 31st win of the season. Time for Brewers Live. Let's check in with Craig Kashawn standing by. Take it away, Craig.
Well, who would have expected that in the 9th inning, but I guess that's how the homestand has gone. Knebel gets the save. Anderson a huge win. Brewers a big inning to talk about as well. And Scooter Gennett, the former Brewer, a big night. All that more coming up next on Brewers Live.